Okay, let's talk about your garden. What if you could build one that not only survives a heat wave, but actually thrives in it? And what if you could do it all for free? Well, today we're going to dive into the brilliant work of horticulturalist Graeme Farrer. He's figured out how to create a whole army of plants that can handle pretty much anything nature throws their way.
All right, so let's start with a problem that I'm sure a lot of you are facing. I know I am. It's this feeling that the old rule book for gardening, it just doesn't seem to apply anymore, right?
And that really is the question we've all got to be asking ourselves. With weather patterns getting more and more extreme, and honestly just unpredictable, hoping for the best just isn't a strategy anymore. We need to get proactive and prepare our gardens for this new reality. And this right here really paints the picture, doesn't it? We used to have predictable seasons, gentle, regular rain. That was the old world. But now, we're living in a new reality of intense heat waves. And then, boom, flash floods. The old way of doing things, just constantly watering everything, it's not just unsustainable. A lot of the time, it just doesn't even work. This new world, it demands a totally new kind of plant.
So what's the answer? How do we garden in this new era? Well, it's not about working harder, that's for sure. It's about working smarter. And the solution, believe it or not, lies with this incredible group of plants that are basically built for this. They're evolved to not just survive these tough conditions, but to actually thrive in them.
So let me introduce you to your new climate heroes, succulents. Seriously, think of them less like individual plants and more like a self-replicating fleet for your garden. They are the ultimate zero irrigation champs because they store their own water. And the best part, the absolute best part, they can generate a totally unlimited supply of new plants, all for free. Can't beat that. Okay, so how is this possible? Why are these plants so easy to multiply and so crazy resilient? Well, it all comes down to this unique biological superpower, something they've been perfecting for thousands of years. The secret is one word: callus. So check this out. When you take a cutting from a succulent, it doesn't just panic and wilt, nope. It creates this tough, dry seal over the wound. It's like a biological Band-Aid, basically. And this little callus does two amazing things. It stops moisture from escaping, and it stops infection from getting in. This is the key to the whole thing. And this is why that callus is so important. Look, if you take a fresh cutting, one that's still kind of wet, and you stick it right into damp soil, you're going to get rot. Almost every single time. But if you let that same cutting form a nice, dry callus first, and then you put it in soil, you get roots. So the big takeaway here is that patience isn't just a nice idea. It's a non-negotiable part of the process. That little healing period is literally the difference between a dead plant and a new one. All right, so we get the science, right? Now let's get our hands dirty. We're going to walk through Graeme Farrer's totally foolproof 1-2-3 action plan to build your very own succulent fleet from the ground up. The whole plan starts with just one single focus. If you only remember one thing from this, let it be this. Make sure that cutting is fully healed and calloused before it ever touches soil. That's the foundation. And the process itself, it could not be simpler. Step 1, take your cuttings, leaf, stem, whatever. Step 2, just leave them on a dry windowsill. That's it. Not on the blazing sun, just somewhere dry. And step 3, you wait. After about 3 to 5 days, you'll be able to touch the cutting and feel that it's dry and firm. And what you've just done is you've basically hacked the plant's survival instinct. It senses it's dry, and it starts to panic a little, thinking, I need water. And it finds water by pushing out this incredible burst of new roots. Okay, so you've got your calloused cutting. Awesome. The next step is creating the perfect environment for it. There are 2 key maintenance wins, think of them like cheat codes, that will guarantee it develops that tough, resilient root system it needs to survive out in the real world. Your garden. Win number 1 is all about the soil mix, and the magic ratio is 50-50. 50% peat-free compost, 50% horticultural grit. This combo perfectly mimics the kind of rocky, free-draining soil where succulents grow in the wild. It gives them food, but it makes sure their roots never get wet feet and sit in water, which, as we know, is a total disaster, especially with those flash floods. And hey, using peat-free compost, that's just a bonus win for making your garden even more sustainable. Now, this second win, honestly, it might be my favorite just because it feels so wrong, but it's so right. It's called the neglect protocol, and it is absolutely critical for building a tough plant.
Graeme Farrer puts it perfectly. A pampered succulent is often a weak one. So here's what you do. After you plant your calloused cuttings in that gritty mix, you don't water them for a whole week. I know it feels weird, but think of it as tough love. By holding back the water, you create a little bit of stress, and that stress triggers a response. It forces the cutting to push out strong, deep roots searching for moisture. A little bit of tough love now builds an incredibly tough plant for the future.
Okay, you're ready. You want to start building your fleet. But where do you begin? Let's talk about the 3 easiest, most reliable climate heroes to kick things off. These are your pioneers, your starting lineup.
These 3, they give you the absolute biggest bang for your buck. First up, sedum. We're talking the ground cover king. This stuff it's practically indestructible. I mean, literally any tiny piece that falls on gritty soil will probably just root itself. Next, you've got sempervivum, better known as hen and chicks. This one does all the work for you, making these little baby plants that you just snip off and replant. It's like a plant that comes with its own starter kit. And finally, crassula, the vertical specialist. This is just amazing. You can grow a whole new plant from a single leaf. How cool is that? It's mind-blowing. So we've covered the how-to, which is great, but let's zoom out for a second and talk about the why. Because this simple act of taking a cutting, it connects to a much bigger, much more powerful idea for the future of your entire garden. And this quote, this really gets to the heart of it all. See, when you propagate succulents, you're not just making free plants. That's the bonus. What you're really doing is investing in a self-sustaining system. You're creating a garden that can literally reproduce and expand its own resilience year after year after year. So, I'm going to leave you with a challenge, a mission, if you will, and it starts small, totally achievable. Tonight, I want you to take just 10 cuttings. That's it, 10. From a plant you already have, or maybe one you can snag from a friend. Because in just 6 months, those 10 little cuttings, they're going to transform into a whole fleet of new, tough, water-wise plants. And they'll be ready to deploy right into your garden to be your first line of defense against the next heat wave. And let's be honest, with the way things are going, you're going to want that defense. So that's the final thought I want to leave you with. Just imagine what new possibilities open up when your garden stops being a place of constant work and worry, and instead becomes a source of its own resilience, its own abundance. What could your garden become if it could truly, finally grow itself?